So, huge news just dropped. Taiwan blocked Xiaohongshu, a massively popular social media app. And as you can imagine, the internet had a lot to say about it. But for most people, it really just boiled down to one pretty alarming question. Whoa, okay, hold on. Is Taiwan, a democracy, actually building its own great firewall like the one in China? I mean, that's where your head goes immediately, right? A government blocks an app and you just think censorship. So let's really get into this because what's actually happening is way more interesting than you might think. And just so we're clear, this isn't some tiny niche app. We are talking about a platform that has more than 3 million users in Taiwan. It's a huge deal, especially for younger people. It's basically their go-to for everything: fashion, travel, life hacks, you name it.
And the reaction online was instant. This quote from an influencer named Chen Yi just nails the vibe. It really felt like a wall was going up, and suddenly the big question was how to get around it. But before we get into that part, you've got to understand the government side of the story.
All right, let's unpack this. The government didn't just pull this out of thin air. They came forward with two big reasons: a massive, and I mean massive, fraud problem, and some really disturbing security issues with the app itself. First, let's talk about the fraud. According to Taiwan's own law enforcement, this was a serious problem. In just the last 2 years, they've connected over 1,700. That's 1,706 fraud cases directly to this app. And all those scams, they've cost people in Taiwan almost $250 million new Taiwan dollars. That is a staggering amount of money just vanishing because of things like fake shopping scams and phony investment schemes, all happening on the platform. But the fraud is only half the story. The other issue is the app itself. So Taiwan's National Security Bureau put Xiaohongshu through a full security audit, and it failed. It didn't just fail a couple of tests. It failed every single one. 15 out of 15, a perfect score in the worst possible way. And just look at what they found. The app was basically a data vacuum cleaner. It was grabbing your contact list, tracking your location, reading your clipboard, and even collecting biometric data like your face. And the worst part? All of that incredibly sensitive information could be shipped off to servers in mainland China. It's a total privacy nightmare. Okay, so the government's case seems pretty solid, right? The app is a breeding ground for scams, and it's basically spyware. So you'd expect them to build an ironclad digital fortress to keep it out. But that's not what they did. And that brings us to the most confusing, head-scratching part of this whole thing. This is the million-dollar question. If this app is such a huge national security threat, why did they put up a block that, honestly, anyone who knows their way around a phone could bypass in less than a minute? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, seriously, you don't need a complicated VPN or special software. You literally just go into your phone's Wi-Fi settings, change a number to 8.8.8.8, which is Google's free public DNS, and that's it. You're back in. So what is even the point? Is this all just for show? Well, here is the plot twist. The fact that the block is so weak isn't a mistake. It is the entire point. The goal here wasn't to build an impenetrable wall. It was to draw a legal line in the sand. So the tech they're using is called DNS blocking. The easiest way to think about it is like this. Your phone is trying to go to a website. It asks the internet's bouncer, the DNS server, for the address. The government's bouncer just shrugs and says, sorry, never heard of it. So your phone can't connect. All you're doing by changing the DNS is asking a different, friendlier bouncer who actually knows the address. Now this is where it all clicks into place. Look at this comparison. You see the tech is way simpler, the bypass is way easier, but look at that third row. The purpose. Taiwan's block is a legal sanction. The Great Firewall is for political censorship. They're two completely different things designed for completely different goals. So it all boils down to this one simple idea. Taiwan's goal isn't to control what its people can see online. It's to make a foreign company follow the law. The Great Firewall's goal is the exact opposite. It's all about controlling information and deciding what its citizens can't see. And here is the core of the problem. Xiaohongshu was operating in Taiwan, making money off its 3 million users there, but it had no legal presence, no office, no official contact, nothing. So when the government sent official requests about all those fraud cases, the company just ignored them for almost 2 months.
This created what officials called a legal vacuum, where a company was essentially operating above the law. So with this one action, Taiwan was trying to hit 3 targets. 1, assert its digital sovereignty, which is just a fancy way of saying our laws apply here, even online. 2, send a clear message to other companies that might try to do the same thing. And 3, by using a block that's easy to get around, they're actually upholding the democratic value of an open internet. And this whole saga really forces us to zoom out and ask a much bigger question, one that really affects every single one of us no matter where we live. Who's actually in charge of the digital spaces we live in? Now, a lot of people immediately say, okay, but what about TikTok? Well, according to the Taiwanese government, the difference is pretty clear. Companies like TikTok, Meta, and Google all have legal offices in Taiwan. When the police need data for an investigation, those companies work with them. Xiaohongshu just didn't. The problem wasn't what people were posting, it was the company's refusal to cooperate at all. So the main takeaway here is that this was never about building a wall to keep citizens out. It was about firing a warning shot at a huge corporation. Think of it as a regulatory tool, not a censorship machine. The fact that it's so easy to bypass is the proof. It's meant to be a headache for the company, not a lockdown for the people. And that leaves us with his final thought to chew on. As more and more of our lives happen online, this question is going to get more important. If a global company can just waltz into your country, serve millions of your citizens, and completely ignore your laws, who really has the power in that digital world? The government you elect or the corporation you download?